Hi, I'm Tom Alibrando with IWI. We're talking about converting the 9mm X95 from right to left-handed. What we do when we do this, we want to try and do it the same way every time. We're going to do this in steps. First thing we do before we work on any weapon is we're going to clear it, verify it is empty. So lock the bolt to the rear, good to go. Chamber, bolt face, magwell's clear, we're set. Drop the bolt. The way I like to do it is I kind of work from inside to outside. I work from the inside components, then I work on the exterior components, and usually from back to front in a logical order to actually get this converted over. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that bolt. Okay. Bolt comes out the rear. And then what I also like to do is I know that the extractor is on the bolt, but the ejector is actually on the magwell adapter. So I like to pop the magwell adapter out too. I take care of all the interior parts first, then I start working on my exterior parts. And by pulling this out, it also allows me to have easier access to the ejection port, which I have to switch over to. So I'm going to knock out just the two pins that hold the magwell adapter. Okay. Very simply, I'm going to take a punch, push it in one side, grab a big old hammer, start whaling it until that pin comes out. Then I come back up on the other one. Do the same thing. Now to pull the magwell adapter out, it won't just fall out. You notice it's trapped. It's trapped because of the magazine release. So you want to hit the mag release lever and this will pop out, okay? So inside to out, I'm going to identify the bolt right now, and some of the components are in the bolt. In the bolt you have the extractor on the one side, and then there's a blocker on the left. Right now that extractor is hooked on the right side to extract rounds and kick them off to the right. If you look on the magwell adapter, the ejector is on the left. So when it fires, it's going to pop out, hit that brass from behind, and then it's going to come back forward again, right? So we have to switch the extractor, which is on the bolt, and the ejector, which is on the actual mag adapter, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the firing pin out of the bolt. That's part of what we have to do. And it's captured, okay? Pop it out. There's the firing pin. We're going to set that off to the side. On the opposite side, you're going to notice that there's another kind of pinhole, and it sort of pops out as kind of like an eye. And you'll have this kind of adaptation. This is the actual pin that holds the extractor in place, and that rear pin is the firing pin retaining pin. What you're going to have to do is you take a small punch, come in from the back. What you're going to do is you're going to actually make sure that this is all the way out, push from the rear, and the block will come out the front, okay? Now, on the extractor, which is on the right side, you're going to feel more resistance because it's under spring tension. So you're going to push that from the rear, pull that out, and that's the extractor. You'll notice, this one's kind of dirty, but you'll notice that the extractor has a bend in it, and it's very 1911-esque, okay? It's got a simple hook on one side. All right, so right now we have the extractor, and we have this block. And you'll notice that on the back of the extractor, there's two cutouts, okay? There's a cutout on the back of the blocker and the extractor. We have to flip them. Remember, the extractor came from the right side, so we want to flip it over to the left side so it ejects left. And you always want to go in from the front. You put it in. You'll notice that cutout's facing up. That cutout is actually held in place by that front bar that you pulled across. So you place it in. And once you get to a certain point, what's going to happen is you're going to feel resistance. That's the spring tension of the extractor. You're going to have to push it in so it's flush and flat, okay? Now to make sure that that stays in alignment, what I do is I take a punch and I kind of wiggle it around, and what it does is it sets the extractor in the right orientation relative to this pin. It's a very tight fit. Now when you put the blocker in from the front, remember, it's got to make sense. It's got to literally block off an entire channel, okay? When you're putting it in, it's going to conform to the bolt face, but remember that blocker has to face this open cut has to face up so the pin can go through it and hold it in the proper orientation while it's inside the bolt. You're going to push that back in, and same kind of thing. Once you get it to a certain point, right there, and now it's almost, the face of it's forming where it needs to be. You're going to come in from the right side, and again, I'll slave that to try and make sure that it stays in the proper alignment. I'm going to take that pin and I push it straight across, and you notice that it went right in, which means these parts are now aligned, they're good to go. Take the firing pin, drop the firing pin in, tap it in from the other side, it's good to go. All right guys, inside to outside, so we're working on the inside of the bolt. On the right side, you're going to notice that there's a roll pin. It cuts across, and that roll pin, what it does is it blocks the charging handle on one side or the other. Now, you could get rid of that roll pin and change it over and you'd be fine. The reason they do that is, let's say I have a whole bunch of soldiers together, or you know, police or whatever, they take their weapons apart. One guy takes his left-handed bolt, puts it down, another guy grabs his right-handed bolt, they get mixed up. The left-handed bolt won't go in the right-handed gun. That's why they're doing that. So inside to outside, I'm going to knock this roll pin out from the shortest distance possible. Grab a punch. Knock it out. And I'm going to reinstall it on the opposite side. And this pin needs to be absolutely flush. If it sticks up at all, it's not going to go in the weapon because it's going to push against the actual receiver. Okay? So I always run my finger over it. It's nice and flush. The bolt's done. Now it's been converted. The extractor's been converted. The ejector now needs to be done on this part. So what I'm going to do is, there's two pins at the top at the rear. This little leg, it looks like a bird beak hanging down. What this does is, when the magazine's in the weapon, it pushes up on the bolt catch. It kind of transfers it to the bolt catch that's already internal to the weapon. So this is like a bridge for that. That's not a big deal. We want to make sure that's down all the way, but there are two pins that go straight across. What we're going to do is going to knock those across. So one pin comes out. Okay. I'm going to knock the other pin out. And you're going to have to knock the heck out of it sometimes. It does fight you on occasion. There we go. Went. Now what I have to do is, this is the extractor. Pull it out, remove it, and drop it into the other side. Now it's set to the right, so when the casing comes back, it's hitting the right part of the casing, which kicks it out to the left. Remember, we're changing the ejection, so it's got to go that direction. Okay. You want the bird beak all the way down. You don't want it sticking up. This comes all the way out. It has a bar that runs through the center of it. So you want everything set down in the middle. What I'll do is I'll drive the pins in, get the orientation so I can see it on this side, drive the pins in from the same side the ejector's on. And they need to be flush. Make sure that bird beak, the area that, or the bolt catch bridge is all the way down and it's moving freely. This is now done. Let's set that off to the side. Now we've got to change the ejection, or the ejection port cover on the right side to the opposite side. And how we're going to do that is very simple. Okay. First thing you'll do is you take a flathead screwdriver, simple flathead screwdriver. You're going to come in from the back. And what you're going to do is you're going to have to pry up, and the thinner the head is, the better off you are. You're going to pry in from the back and get it underneath, so you're actually prying up on the ejection port cover. Take your thumb, put it over the top, and it's like whittling. Put my thumb over the top, and I take my index finger and I kind of push from the front, and I pull the whole thing to the rear, and it's going to just pop. And that pop happens, that's the ejection port cover coming out. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is turn it over. I'm going to grab a 9/64 Allen wrench. I'm going to pull out the brass deflector. Brass deflector comes off the right side. Now while this is off, you want to leave the screw in. You don't want to pull the screw out. It stays in there. While this is off and all opened up, this is a good time to take that ejection port cover and put it back in again. So I put it back in. What you're going to do is come in from the inside, and once it's aligned properly, like so, I actually use my fingers and I kind of press across the top to hold it in that good alignment that I need it to be in. And right now it's not quite settled, so let me settle it in there. There you go. Once it's aligned, you're good to go. Now understand how this works is the ejection port cover has a groove on the bottom of it, okay? And there's two little kind of hooks on the center of it. You got to take those grooves and slide them into that hook. So you have to push up on the inside plate, push down, and then drive it forward, and then it'll line itself up. And now it's in there. That's done. Turn the weapon over, take the brass deflector, put the brass deflector back in. I would put blue Loctite on all the screws. Make sure you do that so they don't come undone when you're under recoil. And screw this back down on the opposite side. Now the ejection port has been opened up on the left side, closed on the right. So we're good to go. We're still working our way forward here, okay? Another thing you want to do, if I work my way forward, this part right here with the, it looks like a hitch pin or a cotter pin, is the actual sling attachment area, right? That's the sling swivel attachment. What you want to do is take a small punch, pull the hitch pin out, okay? And you want to undo this screw on the right side. I call it a mushroom. Pull that all the way out. Now, you want to flip it around because if you're a left-handed individual, you want to have the sling attachment point on the opposite side. One thing that's important to notice, this is a close-up right here, is there's flat sides on that screw. And you'll notice on the inside that there's a specific cut. This fits inside the cup, and it's got to be depressed all the way down. So the way to guarantee that this stays all the way down and just doesn't spin on the inside is you take a sling attachment, like a sling swivel, put it in there and attach it, or you can take the actual chamber flag and you hold it like a syringe, okay? I'm going to put it in from right to left, and I want to hold that screw in place. Remember, if it comes out of the cup, you might turn the actual mushroom, but you're not turning onto the screw. So put the mushroom back on, keep turning it. There's going to be a hole that you're going to see stick up. Now this can free float. That hole can be anywhere. What you want to make sure is that the actual mushroom is allowing you to stick the hitch pin in from the top or bottom. It doesn't really matter. The long leg of the hitch pin goes into the hole. The actual hump goes to the outside of that screw. You push that back through and in. Okay, tap it in there. There you go. And now that's been reversed. So I'm still working my way from back to front, okay? At this point, I'm pretty satisfied. I've got this changed out. I could take the actual adapter. I'll stick it back in. Now remember when you pulled it out, you had to hit the magazine release button. You have to do the same thing. Put it back in. Take these two long pins, stick them back in. I get them started with a hammer. And then I'll take a slightly larger punch because I just want them flush. Okay, so now this is all set, that's set. Working my way forward to the safety. If I want to pull the safety and switch the safety, I take a small punch, a real thin, small punch, the smallest one you can find. Safety at safe, safe on fire. I put it at 45 degrees, so it's not directly in line. what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down on the detent that's in the center, pull it down, and the safety comes off. Turn the gun back over, and this is the teardrop. This is an arrow. It just tells me where the weapon is safe for fire from the opposite side. I do the same thing. Push down, push against the teardrop, kind of down and out of the way, and down and out, and it comes off. Okay. Now to put the safety on the opposite side, I kind of get it aligned and started. I'm going to take the punch. I'm going to push down on the detent, a large punch, and then I push against the punch. Once it gets started and over the actual detent itself, it'll snap into place and it's on. This one's a little easier because it's got a beak on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that beak to push down on the detent, and then I just drive it up, and now it's been reattached. So working my way back to front, everything's been oriented properly. The bolt's already done. Now I'm getting to the charging handle. I got to switch the charging handle over from right to left, okay, or from left to right side. Take a Phillips screwdriver, and you guys have seen me take this off several times to pull the barrel out, and you're going to have to actually pull the barrel out to do this particular operation. Pull the handle off. I kind of kick the charging handle to the rear. I'm going to grab a 3mm Allen wrench. I'm going to undo the screw on the right hand side. Once I get it going, pull that out. Now that's out. Grab the charging, or the fore end, grab the fore end, pull the fore end off, grab the charging handle, pull the charging handle out. Remember, don't ever turn the barrel lock with the charging handle in. You'll break the actual charging handle, and you can actually mess up the gas cylinder too. Even though this isn't a gas operated system, you don't want to bend the gas cylinder. Okay, on the left side, we have the barrel lock. There's a tongue on this side. You're going to take a punch and you're going to push it in there till it actually kind of pops out a little bit. And you'll see that this one's tighter. I always test it first to make sure that it pops out. Some are tighter than others. Okay. Grab the barrel lock or the barrel wrench, put it inside. On the opposite side, I push up on that tongue to pull it out of the groove, and I turn. Now remember, once I get it started, I don't have to keep maintaining pressure on the tongue. I just got to get it out of the groove, turn it the rest of the way. So this goes from L to O, lock to open, grab the actual barrel, pull the barrel out. Only reason I'm doing that is there's a blocker in here that needs to be switched from the opposite side. So the charging handle goes through this opening right underneath the gas cylinder. Okay, you guys see that opening right there. This covers up the other hole. It's a debris hole. It keeps debris from getting down in the gun. So what I need to do is I get in. You can use a flathead screwdriver. Sometimes you can use your fingernails. You pry this plate out. Okay. Pry the plate out, and that's what it looks like right there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the plate over so the opening's now on the opposite side. I know the charging handle has to go on this side, so that opening has to be on that side. Then I'm going to put it back. Okay. After I put it back, grab the barrel, whole assembly, drop it back into the front. Remember to push it down all the way. Okay. Grab your barrel wrench, orient the barrel wrench up. You're going to pull it towards you and turn it. Now it's locked. Okay. Good to go. I'm going to take the charging handle. It's going to go in the right side because if you're a left-handed shooter, your right hand's now operating the charging handle. So I drop it in the groove. There's a hole at the bottom. Push the charging handle down and all the way in. Okay. Remember, take the ring. The gap should be facing down, okay, towards the bottom of the weapon. Grab the fore end, slide it over, and snap it into place all the way to the back. Grab the 3mm screw. Goes in from right to left. I'm going to tighten that down, and it's going to be blue Loctite. Blue Loctite on all. That's on. Grab the pistol grip, drop the pistol grip on top. Phillips screwdriver. Remember, blue Loctite on that screw as well. It's a long screw, but it needs it. Once you shoot, the vibration of the weapon firing can sometimes loosen things up, hence the blue Loctite. There we go. There it is. Okay, so that's all the way down. Now, we've changed the outside of the gun. We changed the inside of the gun insofar as we've changed the extractor the opposite side. I'm going to drop it in. It falls in. Close it. Now, how you're going to know you did it right is think like a left-handed individual. Put it in your left shoulder. This should be easy to access. The safety should be easy to access for a left-handed shooter. Cycle it a couple times, make sure it feels good. It does. Safety's working properly. And then, as with everything, we want to do a function test to make sure it's working, right? So weapon on safe, I attempt to fire, I got nothing. I put it on fire, press the trigger, hold it to the rear, cycle it, release the trigger slowly. I hear a ka-thunk, I know the weapon's functioning. And you'll notice that the sling orientation, all the controls are now laid out for a left-handed shooter. So right now it's ready to go. Okay. To flip it back to the opposite side, you do the same exact steps, just in reverse order. No big deal. So that's it, converting the left-handed, or the 9mm carbine from right to left. That's how you're going to do it. Guys, I'm Tom Alibrando with IWI. If you have any questions, look us up at IWI.us.